Here now is Walid Phares, Fox News national security and foreign policy expert, and Lisa Giovinazzo, an attorney who joins us with the legal implications of all this. But first, Walid, the security interest. This thing has been held up for 4 months. There's any number of possibilities of some bad people entering the United States within that 4-month period. I hope and I pray that we are guarding all of those entries from these countries very carefully right now, those who have come in the past couple of months.
We are guarding, and this measure will increase these other measures that we have already. Remember, terrorists, jihadi terrorists, and others could come even from liberal democracies, from France, Britain. But the measure by itself, and that's what the public needs to understand better, has to do with the situation on the ground. If I give you just one example, and it applies to the other 5 examples. Libya, for example, you have an area controlled by Daesh, ISIS, an area controlled by Al-Qaeda, an area in Tripoli controlled by Islamist militias that controls actually the airport, and then an area which doesn't have jihadists, but we don't have rapport with that army at the time. So we need the time, the government needs the time to clarify, because Iraq, which is off that list, had a similar situation. We have an area with the Kurds, they have airports, an area in Baghdad, which is with whom we have a relationship, and then an area in the middle. We have organized with Iraq, the government of Iraq, the 2 governments actually in Iraq, Kurds and Shia in the south, that we have now a system. So that time is needed to be able to get a system with these countries.
These countries are not even countries. I mean, as you described Libya, and you think of Syria. I mean, there's no vetting that can take place in a country, or no secure vetting that can take place in a country like that. Lisa, the fact that the Supreme Court decided unanimously to allow the president to reimpose the ban that had been held up by these lower courts, that says a lot about the lower court decision and how they weren't really following the law, right?
Yeah, they really didn't base it in the rule of law or even in the historical case law, which is an issue, right? We really saw a court that made a decision based on really politics, and that was unacceptable. The court kind of spanked them when they came out unanimously. They didn't have a leg to stand on. Everything that was asserted, and if you recall, a couple months ago, the Ninth Circuit's judges, 5 of them, got together and gave a scalding opinion of what they did not agree with out of their own court. And a lot of that was what we're talking about and seeing from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court came down and they basically said the president has the ultimate authority. There is no constitutional violation, at least temporarily. And now, if they hear it in October, that's going to be the question, because they're asking for motions.
Of course, the headlines of all the papers were very big when the lower courts disagree with the president, but very small when the Supreme Court unanimously agreed with the president. That says a lot. Walid, the problem with what this ban as it occurs now is it's not an absolute ban. You have all these categories. Maybe we can put them back up on the screen. Some people are allowed in, some aren't, based on whether they're grandparents or half-siblings or daughters-in-law. Why not have an absolute ban as opposed to something that can be so misinterpreted?
Because the government is still efforting, doing everything they can to understand the issue. Basically, we don't have yet a super vetting system. Used to be called extreme vetting system. We don't have it. So the government needs, both the administration and Congress in this case, they need that time. And by the way, the Supreme Court as well would need to understand these facts. So we don't have a full system that would ensure that every individual coming through our ports of entrance are not jihadists. That is not yet the case.